I'm not a beatmaker. I've never owned an MPC, and I've chopped samples maybe a handful of times. So buying the MPC Sample made absolutely no sense, at least on paper. So why did I buy it? You might assume I wanted fewer options, fewer plugins, fewer distractions, and faster decisions. But honestly, that wasn't the real reason. I bought it because I wanted to make music somewhere other than this desk. Without Ableton, without my Mac, and without building half my studio every time. On the train, on vacation, or just on the couch in the evening. I don't want it to replace Ableton, but I just don't want to look into a big screen every time I make music. That's the real reason, not a new genre. A new place to start, away from the screen. But there was one obvious risk. Would this actually feel freeing? Or would I just miss everything I can do in Ableton? So I gave myself a simple test. Could I build one musical idea entirely on the MPC Sample without falling back on Ableton? And in addition to that, how long would it take until I stopped thinking about how to control the MPC Sample and focus entirely on the music? The first real difference showed up before I had even played or recorded the first drum beat. Typically I play synthesizers and I start by shaping the sound, mainly from the beginning. Waveform, filter, envelopes. That is a process I'm very familiar with. But with a sampler, I start by choosing a sound that already exists. So the question is not what sound can I build, but how can I use the sound I'm hearing? And at first that felt more limiting than inspiring. I haven't properly recorded or sliced my own material yet, so for now I'm working with sounds recorded by somebody else. Could I use sounds chosen by somebody else and create something that still felt personal? Honestly, the first stretch went better than expected. The MPC Sample doesn't feel especially difficult, just unfamiliar. Most of the time, I know exactly what I want to do musically. For example, the copy of a pattern with a small variation. In Ableton, that would cost me maybe a few seconds, and on the MPC Sample, I need to think about it. Here, I need to figure out these things because it's not my daily workflow, and that's the gap I have to bridge. And I think that's an important difference. Unfamiliar doesn't always mean difficult. Sometimes you know exactly what you want to do, but you just don't know the way how to get there yet. On a synth, that gap barely exists anymore for me. Years of practice and muscle memory make it very easy, if I have a sound in mind, to recreate it in a few seconds. But here, even simple ideas need some kind of translation. That is frustrating on the one hand, but forces me to relearn and pay attention again on the other hand. So I stopped trying to understand the entire machine before making any music and focused on my test. One sketch, one pattern, and just a few sounds. My first instinct was to keep searching until I found the perfect sounds, which, of course, is exactly the kind of behavior I was supposedly trying to escape. So, at some point, I just picked something and that gave me this. It wasn't much yet, but it was the first moment where I stopped browsing and started building. The next challenge was finding something musical that actually felt right for me. There is a lot in the factory library, but I was still working with sounds chosen by somebody else. At first, that felt a little bit restrictive, but eventually I stopped asking whether a sound was perfect and started asking whether I could make it work. The sketch isn't finished yet, but that wasn't really the point. What surprised me was how quickly the MPC made sense for me. I still had to look a few things up here and there, but I rarely felt stuck. I bought it to change the place where I make music, but maybe it might also change the way how I make music. So did it do what I bought it for? Partly, yes. It lets me start music away from the computer. But the real test is whether I reach for it when I'm on the sofa, on the train, or on vacation. Because it is not about portability. I could bring my MacBook to any of these places. It is about wanting a different way to begin without looking at another screen. And I think that might appeal to musicians outside the typical beat-making world. not mainly because they want to change genres, but because they want to interrupt their standard process of making music. I am still at the beginning. I haven't sliced recordings yet, or haven't integrated my synth into my setup. But the MPC has already done one useful thing. It made me stop searching for the perfect setup, but start making music with what I have in front of me. If you already know your ways around MPCs, please tell me what should I learn next. And if you come from keys or synth like me, tell me if this kind of workflow appeals to you. Until then, thanks for watching, make more music and